What's up, YouTube? How you doing? Um, so, I got a comment today from Mystic Fountain uh, on the "Is deja vu a sign that the future is predetermined or something else?" video. Uh, and her comment is, "What if you already lived and you had free choice? What if now you are supposed to watch what happened? What if you already lived and you had free choice? What if now you were just supposed to watch what happened?" uh, so like, so that brings up like reincarnation, right? That's basically implying reincarnation, right? Uh, so think practically about how reincarnation could, would, or might be possible. Uh, so, if I can prove with my previous videos that this is in fact a simulation through with math, with actual math and experimentation, I'm still trying to figure out how to actually like record that video because I'm one person and I really need a second set of hands, but to be able to do it efficiently, to do it right. I think I'm trying to figure out how to do it by myself, you know. But point is, until I get there, uh, this is in fact a simulation. So like, think about how reincarnation would be feasible within a simulation. So like, the the deja vu thing, right? Implying that the futures may be predetermined, right? Could be predetermined, or maybe there's like, uh, I used to have, it was kind of a dream, but it kind of wasn't. It was really just kind of like a reoccurring vision in my head. I used to have this like, I used to just see, like when I was going through all my terrible times, there would just be this vision that would pop up in my head where there was a line. It was just abyss blackness line, and or abyss blackness with a white line, and this line would have dots on it. There would be little dots. They wouldn't be designated what these dots are. And this is just all. This is literally all it was blackness with a white lines, a white line that would break off into others, and there were dots along. Like ultimately, what would happen is there was a central line. There was a central line, and there would be all of these dots and these other points that break off of the central line, and they would all go off, and they would get really complicated. Like, like further out they go, they get complicated. But like my vision of it usually stayed kind of like right in, and there wasn't always stuff breaking off. There would be like points where it was just the single straight line, or maybe there wouldn't be any on one side, and you know what I mean. It's very quite varying, quite various. But it was just lines. It was a line, a linear system moving forward with dots on it. It was all white in blackness, and this would be reoccurring in my head. And after some time, after seeing it enough times, I would like start to recognize the patterns within the lines, within like the directions of the lines, relative to me and what was happening in my life. Even though the lines were unlabeled, undesignated, uh, what was happening is I was watching me go through them basically, like relative to me, relative to my life. I go watching myself go through the lines relative to my life. That's so. Uh, so in the previous video, I talked about how I had a dream where I saw something and then it happened later on, right? And I got that deja vu, but it wasn't just deja vu. It was actually like I've done this before, that I've done this before feeling, not just a familiar feeling, but an I have done this before feeling. So it's so much to put together. See if I can do it in the next 10 minutes, 9 minutes. Uh, so if you guys have heard about the resets, if you know what that is, if you know what the resets are, the nuclear resets, not the economic ones, the real ones, the real the real deal resets with heavy weaponry, with literal weapons of mass destruction. But I'm talking like uh, the ones that are in control of that are the ones that are in control of all of this. They're the ones that uh, man, that comment brings up so much. That comment brings up so much because you have to put it all together in order to explain it. I'll just start by saying UFOs. UFOs. Those are the guys. Those are the guys that have the big weaponry. Those are the guys that nuclearly reset the world. Uh, and I mean that. I'm pretty sure literally because there's evidence of. I mean, you can look it up online. There's evidence of literal melted cities that now they just refer to them as weird rock formations, where like natural rock formations is what they call them. They're like steeples. They're like full steeples that have been melted. You know what I mean? But there's still something standing there. So like, uh, that's why they look weird. That's why they look weird. That's why they look like they've like Play-Doh falling over itself. That's why they look like that. Is because it's melted. It was extreme nuclear heat. Think about how hot that is to have to melt rock. uh, so, so, the deja vu, the dream, seeing the dream, deja vu, implying that things have happened before, gives validity to the resets. Okay, uh, so the resets, like in the comment, this let me reread it. Like in her comment, what if you already lived and you had free choice? What if you already lived? So the resets imply that, or what implies that. So again, we're going down the path of logical implication here. This implies past lives, right? This implies past lives. So the resets can imply that past lives have happened and that deja vu is in fact possible because there's nuclear evidence out there. There's nuclear evidence of things being melted. You can go. I went out to the Red River Gorge not too long ago, and it was there. I looked for it while I was there. It was there. It is there. You can see evidence and touch it of rocks that have been melted. Okay? Melted. That's why they look weird. That's why they look little is because they've been melted by nuclear heat, extreme nuclear heat. Okay, that's why they're large, like steeple, weird. That's why there's all kinds of just bizarre rock formations all over the world that people can't explain. They think they can explain it. They're trying to give you. They're giving you garbage science to explain it, but it's not explaining it because it's Devil's Tower for instance. Devil's Tower. So that's an ancient tree that was cut. Okay, and then dried out for straight is so. I wouldn't be surprised if there were evidence of melting there somewhere, like around the base of the tree where it meets the ground. So like, or anywhere else really. But like, point is, there are all kinds of formations everywhere that give away that there was something before. The point is that there was something before a major catastrophe, and that there's now something after that same major catastrophe. Okay, and that this could have had that this like. And there's no reason to think that would happen only once. You know what I mean? There's no reason to think that catastrophe has happened once. So you have to consider multiple times. Logically, you would have to consider, well, what if it's happened multiple times? That's what the resets. There's nuclear evidence everywhere. So like you come back to it, and this all implies that this is in fact possible. And my previous videos show that the simulation is real, okay? So all of this is happening within the simulation, okay? All of this is happening within the simulation. I have to make a whole other video about my suspicions of the structure of the simulation, about what I suspect may be the structure of the simulation. So think about what would be necessary in order for your past lives to occur again. Like to reincarnate and then for deja vu to be possible. Memory banks within the simulation, right? Because, like, you gotta have, like, if you want the same thing to happen again, think about, like, you don't understand what a computer is. You don't know what a computer is, but you understand that you're in a simulation somehow. Maybe you understand that you're in a simulation somehow, but you don't know what a computer is. Okay, so you don't really know what advanced technology looks like. Not familiar with it, right? So, but you're a smart person, so maybe you can think logically. So maybe you can think, well, what is necessary in order to make something possible again, in order to get the same thing again, right? Because that's what this is, really, is making the same thing possible again, right? It's through memory. You have your own memory. Maybe you recognize that you have your own memory. Maybe you're like, well, it would need to do that, right? It would need to store information and then pull it out again, create it again, have it ready. You know what I mean? So maybe you get what I'm saying? Like, and then this brings up freedom of choice. Do we have it or not? I think on the small level, yes. I think, like, I can choose to go do something right now instead of finishing this video, but all of this implies that, like, to some degree, no.